is Jen from Brighton Music Center, and today I am with Korinne from Eastman. Korinne, would you like to introduce yourself? And what your role is?
Absolutely. Thanks, Jen. Thank you for letting me come in today. My name is Korinne Smith, and I'm the Northeast Regional Sales Manager for Eastman Music Company, which is the parent company of the William S. Haynes Flute Company. The William S. Haynes Flute Company is the oldest flute company in the United States. I don't know if you knew that, but and so I'm a flutist myself, and I'm very happy to be here to talk about these amazing instruments. So thanks for having me.
And I also play flute, so I'm like super excited. So what do we have here today?
Yeah, so the three flutes that we have here are three out of the 6 models of the Haynes Q series line of instruments. Haynes has had this line for quite some time, and the purpose of this line, for a long time, Haynes flutes has been known for their custom instruments, and that's usually starting at around the $12,000 mark and above. The Q series line came about because we wanted more of a pre-professional line, one that is around the $3,000 mark, going all the way up to the $10,000 mark. So there are 6 models in the line. Again, we have 3 of them here, 3 of our most popular out of the 6. So I'm excited to kind of demonstrate and talk through the specs of them. And so Brighton Music has been generous enough to carry the entire Haynes line of Q series flutes as well as Amadeus, but today we're going to just focus on the Q series.
And personally, I love the Q series, mainly because I am just a huge fan of the Haynes head joint.
Oh yeah,
I just love how it plays so much.
Yeah, so we can talk about that. The Q series line typically is attractive to the advancing high school student, or those actually going into college for maybe music education or even performance. The Q series flutes can really take you from high school all the way through college and beyond, depending on which model that you have. So let's go through the 3 models that we have here. So the Q1, and we'll talk about the Haynes head joint because that is also one of my favorites. Yeah. When it comes to flute playing, the head joint is in many ways the most important part of the instrument. It's what creates the sound. And so on these Haynes Q series flutes, we have the classic head joint. And the classic head joint is more square in cut, which can require, I would say it requires a little more air, more support. It can be a little resistant at times, but in a good way. So this also allows the student to have, or the sound to be more depth. There's more depth in the sound, there's more roundness, there are more overtones, and so it's a much more advanced sound for the player. Definitely a great step up from an intermediate flute, which is what they would be doing coming from middle school or early high school. So the head joint is the classic head joint. We have a few options here. The one here on the Q flute that I have is just a solid silver head joint. All of the classics, all of the head joints on the Q series are solid silver. The Q1, the body, is actually plated as well as the mechanism. So the only thing that is solid silver is the head joint, which is the most important thing. The mechanism, let's talk about that for a minute. So it is plated silver. The left hand has a pinless mechanism, which is really great for just ease of playing. It feels really great. And so that's an upgrade from your typical intermediate instrument. Mostly the whole mechanism is pinned, where on the Q series flutes, the left hand has a pinless mechanism. Also, we have, in this case, it's an offset G key. You can also get it inline if you want. The Q series is great because you have a lot of different options here, more options than you would on intermediate flutes. So you can get inline G or offset. You also have the option on the mechanism to have a C-sharp trill if you'd like, or not. This one doesn't have one, which is just fine. Some people don't want the C-sharp trill. All of the mechanism it's an open hole mechanism. So this flute has plugs, and each of the flutes do come with plugs. If this would be your going from a closed hole flute to an open hole flute, as well as a low B foot. So that's always the step up and upgrades that you want to be looking for when you're going from a student or intermediate flute to a more professional instrument. Also, the mechanism is made with French pointed arms or French key cups, and that makes it look a lot more professional. It also makes the feeling of the mechanism much better. So that's a French pointed arm mechanism. And I think that's it on the Q1. So I can maybe just play a little bit so you can hear the differences between the models. But again, this is a solid silver head joint, plated body, plated mechanism. Yeah, it rings really well in here.
Yeah, it does.
It's really nice.
It does, man. I just love that. Like, it's just the sound. It's so round and like just so colorful. Like all the Haynes flutes. I just love it.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Yeah, Haynes has had in history, has had a heritage for flute making, right? We started our company in 1888, so it's the oldest out of all the Eastman companies, and like I said, the oldest flute company in the U.S. And so they have what's called the Haynes sound, which is what everybody is. It's what it's known for. It is the American flute sound. It is round. It is colorful. It is projecting over, if you were to play in an orchestra setting, but it blends well if you're playing in a chamber setting. So it's a very special, unique sound, and it is the American flute sound. So yeah,
Love it.
awesome. So that's the Q1. The Q2 is by far, I believe, out of all the 6 models that we have, the most popular model, and I'll tell you why. So we have the same solid silver head joint, but now we have a solid silver body. The mechanism itself is still silver plated. Again, all the same options. The difference from this Q1 and this Q2 is this one has a C sharp trill. It also has a split E, which is another option, or an E disc is also an option. So we still have the open holes, the low B foot, but again, you now have a solid silver body and head, and this head joint, again, the classic head joint, you can also get the option of a 14K riser, so a little bit of gold in the riser. And for those of you that don't know what a riser is, it's that piece of metal in between the head joint tube and the lip plate, and that is where the air actually hits and creates that tonal quality. So that's the most important part of your sound, is the riser. So that one has a silver riser. This is the 14K riser, and I always recommend music stores to carry at least one head joint with a 14K riser, because that little bit of an upgrade in price is worth the upgrade in sound that it gives. So
what would you say the sound quality is, like what the different sound quality is?
Yeah, between silver and gold?
Yeah.
So silver, if I were to put words to it, like adjectives to it, would be it's brighter. In my mind, people use different adjectives to describe sound, but in my mind it's a little bit brighter. The 14K really is more warmth, more depth, more harmonics, more projection, which I love. So again, if you are looking, the classic head joint is also available. We're not going to talk too much about Amadeus flutes on this, but that's our more intermediate level instrument, and you can also get this classic head joint with a 14K riser on Amadeus flutes as well. That's an option. So you get that professional level head joint on an intermediate instrument. But anyway, so this is the 14K riser. And I'll try and play the same thing I played before so we can compare. And that, like, I just hear more body.
Yeah.
I don't know, did you hear a difference?
Definitely, yeah. Yes, such a difference.
Yeah.
Really warm too, it's just...
Yeah, a little bit warmer in sound. But also the help of that solid silver body really does it as well.
Oh yeah.
So that's the Q2. We're trying to make it easy here. Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4. We have a Q Galway version, which are Galway's specifications, and then a Q Fusion, which is a mix of a solid silver tube with a 9K rose gold tube fused together, which is also a really nice.
It was really fun. I actually got to play that at Winter NAMM last year.
Yeah.
And that was cool, just because it was like, whoa, like, what is this metal going on here, right?
Yeah.
But no, yeah, those are super cool.
But it's that nice mix of that silver and gold together, so you get all the characteristics of both. So yeah, great. Okay, so the Q3?
Yeah.
So we, again, all the same options as the Q2. except there's one piece that we haven't added the solid silver component to, which is the mechanism. So now we have a solid silver head joint, solid silver body, and a solid silver mechanism, which again will create a little bit more weight to the instrument, but it also changes the sound tonally. This one does not have a C-sharp trill. It's offset, and it has that 14K riser as well, which I again recommend for this level of flute. So the difference here is just that solid silver mechanism. Yeah, very good. Very good. Thanks. So that's the Q series. Those are the Q series flutes.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We gotta get you to have one.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. To be continued on that. No, yeah, I like I said, I'm such a fan of the Haynes flutes.
Yeah.
Just because like you said, there's so many different characteristics that you can have with them.
Mm-hmm.
So many different options. And now we talked about it, the inline versus the offset.
Mm-hmm.
But what would you suggest to somebody, like as a flutist yourself, choosing inline between offset?
Okay, so it's funny because growing up throughout, I've played flute since 4th grade, and I went on through actually undergrad and into graduate school in flute performance, and so I grew up actually on an inline flute because that was the trend during that day. A lot of my teachers played on inline, and they felt like there wasn't a real need for offset. Offset was really just for student flutes. And then when you would advance to an intermediate or a professional instrument, it would be inline. Now the trend is the better ergonomics, right? So they think that the G, offset G, is better for the hand. And for many flutists, for many female flutists that maybe have smaller hands, the offset G feels better and helps with their technique. For me, I have rather large hands. I'm a tall woman and I have big hands, so I don't really need I don't need the offset G. I can hit the inline G just fine without any pain. Mm-hmm. So I think it's really based on comfort. But definitely the trend right now is offset.
Okay, so that's interesting. Yeah, I always get asked that question, like, this versus that, and I'm like, really, it's how comfortable you are with it, and if you have a small hand, you'd like to be more comfortable, then there you go.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
it's not really too much of like a tonal difference, is it?
No, not at all. Yeah, strictly just ergonomics. And then the other options, we can talk about those really quick. So the C-sharp trill. For those of you that don't know what a C-sharp trill actually does, in more advanced playing, it's helpful with certain trill fingerings, but specifically in the B to C-sharp trill. So if you were to play your middle B or even your higher B, second octave B, you would play B and then do the C-sharp in between these two fingers. It's this movement, which is really uncomfortable, and you can only go so fast.
I'm so bad at that. I really am.
And trying to balance the flute. Right? So that's tricky, that's part. Yeah. So they came up with the C-sharp trill, which is activated by your right hand index finger. So it makes it much easier. You just hold the B and you use your right hand to activate that trill. And so I'll show you once without the C-sharp trill and once with. It's a little difficult, okay, and I've practiced that for a long time, so that's still very difficult. Now with this, I can really have control over it, right? So it's super helpful, and again, it also helps with some other higher third octave trills too. So that's the C-sharp trill. And then we also have our split E mechanism add-ons. Why would we want a split E or a G disc? The purpose of those is to help with the production of the high E. On the flute, E can be a very difficult note sometimes. So you have to, you have to kind of have a certain adjustment to really, if you don't have a split E to assist, you have to have a certain you know, your jaw has to be dropped, all of these things have to be in place, and the wind has to be, your air stream has to be so it produces correctly and well. The the split E mechanism or the G disc helps with that, assists with that. So there's no need for me to demonstrate it. I can play a high E, but you're not going to really hear the difference, but it is much easier with the split E. Again, you don't need to have it, but you can if you want. So those are the options.
Well, thank you so much, Korinne, for joining us today and giving us this discussion on flutes. I loved it, and I know many people watching this has loved it. It was so great to have you here today.
Thank you so much. And know that Brighton Music has full stock of Q Series flutes. I have to give that little sales pitch there. So if you want to come in and try any of these, please do. They're at the North Hills location and at the New Brighton location. So
awesome.
I hope people come by.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
And we'll see everybody soon. And don't forget to subscribe because we're going to have a lot more videos like these. And then, yeah, just come and check out the flutes. Flutes are great.
Thanks, everyone. See ya.
Bye.